Hello, I'm Beth Britton. I support Dementia Community with their communications work. Welcome and thank you for joining us for the first in our autumn series of webinars. Before we get into the topic for today, I just wanted to briefly explain a little bit more about Dementia Community. Dementia Community is a charitable community benefit society, a membership cooperative that provides learning and networking opportunities for the dementia care community. We are an independent voice and inclusive organisation aiming to help all of our members feel connected, informed, inspired, empowered, purposeful, and engaged in co-produced changes that improve everyone's experiences of dementia, both in care and in wider society. This webinar is just one example of the many ways in which we do this. Community members own a £1 community share in Dementia Community, and membership is open to everyone. So if you aren't already a member, do join us. There are both benefits and opportunities for all of our members. My colleague Beth Lang will put the link into the chat that will take you to our membership page, or do please scan the QR code. If you're having any difficulties joining Dementia Community, please do message Beth or myself and we will aim to help. So on to the topic for today's webinar. It is Unleash the Power of Personally Meaningful Music with a Playlist for Life. I will introduce you to our speaker shortly, but just some brief housekeeping first. We are recording this webinar, so if you don't want your face on the recording, please turn your camera off. Please use the chat for your questions. We will have a Q&A and discussion after the presentation, and we will be keeping an eye on the chat. We hope to have some live participation too, so if you would like to ask your question yourself, please do raise your hand when we get to the Q&A. Afterwards, my colleague Beth Lang will email you the slides. The recording will also go onto our YouTube channel, Journal of Dementia Care, so do look out for that. We also have all of our previous webinars on our YouTube channel as well. Finally, we will send you a feedback form after the webinar, and we'd be really grateful if you would complete that. So let's get started. Our speaker for today is Rebecca Kennedy, who is Head of Communities at Playlist for Life. Rebecca, welcome. I know last week was really busy for you with National Playlist Day. I know you're going to tell us about that. So thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon, and over to you.
Great, thank you very much, Beth. I will just share my screen and then we can get going. Okay, so hopefully everyone, maybe one of the Beths can give me a thumb up if you're seeing a big presentation. Fantastic. Lovely. So yes, as Beth said, my name is Rebecca and I am Head of Communities at Playlist for Life. Playlist for Life is a music and dementia charity, and we advocate the use of personally meaningful music to help people living with dementia. And I just want to briefly start, because if you're new to our work, you may have seen us on the news last week on Friday, as Beth mentioned, with our National Playlist Day campaign. This was a campaign that's been, it's in its third year now, and aims to raise awareness of the power of personally meaningful music and encourage everyone to get started on a playlist that can help them, that can be a fun activity now, but a lifeline for the future. And I'd really encourage everyone to have a look at our National Playlist Day website, which will be in one of the links that gets sent on afterwards, and also maybe just have a wee look back on some of the great activities we had going on Friday. We'd had the band The Bluebells singing their big hit Young at Heart with a dementia choir in Glasgow. We had lots of people sharing their own soundtrack songs, so it's not too late to get involved in that. And we also had these lovely ladies who, this lady's living with dementia, and that's her daughter who cares for her, and they were sharing their fantastic story on the BBC. And up in the top right corner here, you'll see Sir Alex Ferguson, who also got involved, sharing his the soundtrack to his life, 5 songs that are really meaningful to him. So for any sports fans out there, I'd encourage you to go. And he talks a lot about football and his management experience as well. So there's something in there for everyone. And it was a really, really fantastic day. But today, I've got a bit longer, so I'm going to talk about who Playlist for Life is, why personally meaningful music is so important for people living with dementia, and also give some tips on how to actually get started on that personal playlist. So we really come from the lived experience of dementia. We were founded just over 10 years ago by writer and broadcaster Sally Magnuson after her experience caring for her mother, Mamie, who you can see in the pictures here. And what Sally and her family found is that more than anything that they tried, music was the thing that helped them stay connected to their mother and made her mother stay connected to herself. And so Sally set up the charity to share the power of music with as many people as possible and encourage people to use music to help their living with dementia. So when we talk about personally meaningful music, we're talking about the music that gives you that flashback feeling. So the songs that when they come on, they instantly transport you back to a particular time in your life or make you think about a person that's been important to you or a place that's been important to you. And I would encourage everyone now to have a wee think about what song would give you that flashback feeling. What's a song that when you hear it, it instantly transports you, or maybe even just puts a smile on your face, brings back a happy memory. And in a moment, if anyone's brave enough, I'll stop sharing and ask if anyone would like to share what that song is and a memory that's attached as well. And when we hear this music, it can be a really nice thing. We get a feeling of comfort and familiarity because it's recognizable to us. But for people with dementia, this music can be a real lifeline and it can help to bring that sense of self that can sometimes feel lost when living with dementia. Sally's mother, Mamie, often said that living with dementia was like being on a journey, getting further and further away from herself. But music was that crucial thing that was able to bring her back to her sense of self and give her that comfort. So hopefully that's been enough time for at least one person to think of a song and spark a little memory. So if there's anyone who would be interested in sharing a song, either stick your hand up or maybe unmute yourself and just come in because I can't see everyone, or maybe even just stick it in the chat. It would be really nice to hear some examples. I'll go first because I know it can be a bit scary to speak up in such a big room. The example I always share, because I think that people often think, oh, I have to think of something cool or interesting if I'm going to share a song in front of everyone. And the key thing is here, you don't, you just have to share something that's important to you. It can be a guilty pleasure. So the song that always instantly transports me is Stop by the Spice Girls. I grew up in the 90s and I remember being given this CD. It was the first CD I was ever gifted. And I think I played it constantly on a loop. I think I've still got it somewhere actually. And I would do the dance routine. And whenever I hear it now, I am 7 years old and I'm in my parents' house and I'm dancing along. You'll be pleased to know I'm not going to do the dance moves for you right now. But yeah, would anyone else like to share a song?
I love your choice, Rebecca. That's a very cool choice and a very cool story. I will share with you. It would be Elvis Presley, The Wonder of You.
Oh, lovely.
And it would be that because they used to play it at my football ground. So I'm an Arsenal fan, which some people may now want to just tune off. Uh, but they used to play it at our stadium for home matches. And I just remember going to the stadium, the Emirates Stadium, in the early days when it was built, and we would sing the song and we'd sing it with friends. And that was when my mum used to come with me as well. So it's just a lovely memory of really happy times before a match, not necessarily afterwards, depending on the result. But yeah, happy memories of time spent with individuals as well as the location and the memory of the location as well.
That's fantastic, Beth. And later on, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to find songs that have meaning attached. And I think you've ticked off all the themes there, which is fantastic. And also, you know, we've got to know a little bit more about Beth, that she's an Arsenal fan, a little bit about her past. And that's really what music can do. It can unlock things about people that you wouldn't know if you maybe wouldn't have thought to ask Beth that if we hadn't been talking about the music. I won't make anyone else share a memory in front of everyone, but throughout the call, if you would like to pop a song or memory in the chat, then go for it. And I will just share the screen again so we can keep going. Lovely. So as I said, these songs, when we listen to them, you get that lovely warm feeling of familiarity. And I would encourage everyone, even if you don't share a song in the session today, to go away after and have a listen to the song that would be on your playlist, because it's a really wonderful feeling that you get when you hear that music that's familiar to you. But that feeling is actually rooted in science. If someone is hooked up to a brain scanner and, for example, solving a maths problem, you'll see activity in the brain. But what you see when someone listens to music is a virtual fireworks display of activity. And what this means is if one part of the brain is damaged by dementia, then music can still break through and reach other parts. And there's over 2 decades of research and evidence to support this impact of music, and there's growing evidence that it is this personally meaningful music particularly that has such a profound effect for people living with dementia. I won't go into too much detail about the science, but I did just want to share this one simple piece of advice from researchers at the University of Toronto based on a study that was done there. And their advice was, it's simple. Keep listening to the music that you've loved all your life, your all-time favourite songs, those pieces that are especially meaningful to you. Make that your brain gym. And that's really what it is. It's a brain gym. It's a way to keep your mind active. And I would encourage anyone who is particularly interested in finding out more about the research or evidence to take a look at our science page on our website, because there's lots of great stuff there that you can delve into. But I would like to talk more about what this actually looks like for people with dementia in practice. Because often music and other similar interventions are seen as being a nice thing or a bit of an add-on activity, but it's actually a strong therapeutic tool that can have really impactful benefits for people. So these are just some of the benefits that can be observed. So firstly, we see increased communication. People, you know, being able to speak more fluently or recovering words through song, and then in turn being able to connect more with the people around them. We see increased motivation and engagement. So if someone is experiencing symptoms of apathy or lethargy, then personally meaningful music is something that they can use to motivate them. And I have a great example of a gentleman living with dementia who loved to go running, but it was the music that really helped him kind of get that motivation to get up and get out and go running and stay active, which we know is so crucial when you're living with dementia. It can also reduce depression, distress, and anxiety. And I think this is probably something that all of us on the call today, whether we have a dementia diagnosis or not, have experienced. That if you're having a really bad day, or you're stressed or anxious, that a particular song, if you put it on, can really change your mood and reduce that anxiety or cheer you up if that's what's needed. And again, a lot of people that we've worked with have shared that on a black day, on a really hard day, where they're not having that motivation, that music is something that can really help. It can also in turn elevate mood and increase relaxation. Again, I'm sure lots of us will have used music to relax in our time, but for people with dementia, this can be really important. And it can also improve nutritional intake. And this is something that we observed in a care home in the south of England recently. we trained the home and they used music with a number of their residents. And there was one lady who, through using music at meal times, which is a time of the day she found particularly difficult, she was actually able to put on 6 kilograms, which was really important for her health at that time. And then finally, it can decrease pharmacological intervention. This is, of course, something that should always be done with a medical professional, but we've seen this on quite a few occasions, and most recently within a community mental health team in Fife in Scotland. They introduced personal playlists to a small group of the people that they were working with, and what they saw across that group was an 80% reduction in the use of as needed or PRN medication being used, which is really significant and has, you know, huge potential impacts on people's health, but on the cost of care as well. Rather than me just telling you all the benefits, I'm going to hand over to a little video now where we have some of the people living with dementia that we've worked with over the years sharing themselves how playlists have helped them.
Playlist is an absolutely wonderful thing. You pick songs for your own life. It can be any song that you like that means something to you and brings back a memory. When you're sad or low or feeling grumpy, then Malcolm puts my CD on and I'm up dancing and jumping, and it's absolutely wonderful.
It's brilliant, isn't it? It just takes me back so much, and because I forget everyday things, it's important to me to remember things from the past. Very important to me.
ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਚਪਨ 'ਚ ਗਾਣੇ ਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਸੀ, ਕਾਲਜ ਸਕੂਲ ਟਾਈਮ 'ਚ ਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਸੀ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਰਿਮਾਈਂਡ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੈਮੋਰੀ ਵੀਕ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਨਾ, ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ
It really has helped me.
Especially on a black day, I could just come in there and just sit and listen. Music is a wonderful thing.
You know the kind of music you like, I know the kind of music I like, and I will choose it. And that music will give you something. It'll give you something in your life. You know that there it is in your pocket, you can just pick it up and put it on and get on. Oh, I think it's lovely.
So you can see there that the different ways that people have been able to use music and as part of their own care, and it just highlights that it's slightly different for everyone as well. And you'll see in that video, as well as the people living with dementia, there are also family members and carers involved. And I just want to stress that the benefits for families are equally important and equally as significant. The feedback and evidence we've gathered from families, you know, they tell us that using a playlist helps families stay connected and engage with each other. It can provide respite for family carers and help reduce the stress and tensions that come with being a carer. I think a lot of this is because knowing that your loved one is happier and healthier through using their playlists can make families happier too. Family carers at home can use the music to help their loved one during times of the day that bring particular stress or difficulty. And if your loved one is in a care setting, whether that's in hospital or a care home, then again, using the music can be a really nice focus and structure for visits as well. And it's a really positive thing in a time that can be difficult and stressful for people. Music, as Sally always said about her experience with her family, is something that can bring moments of happiness and flashes of joy. So I would encourage any carers here as well to have a think about using it for their loved one, but also for themselves. You know, anyone can make a playlist and it can be good for your mental health as well. There are also a number of benefits for care professionals who are working in the dementia sector. Again, these are all benefits reported by staff who we've worked with and we've trained. It's an entirely person-centered intervention. It's about using music that's right for the individual at the right time for them. It can really help to get to know someone better, get to know a person beyond them being your resident or your patient. And this in turn helps to build trust between you and the person that you're caring for. As I've mentioned, it can be a tool that can help particularly during difficult times. So this might be if someone finds getting up in the morning to be difficult, if someone starts to feel anxious around a particular time or day or a particular task that they need to do. Personal care is a great example here. If that's something that's stressful for people, using the music can take all the stress out of a situation and can help to calm and soothe someone. I've seen this firsthand with lots of people that we've worked with, but particularly I used to work in a care home myself. And there was a lady who, while she was able to walk, would find getting up out the chair to maybe go to the bathroom or go for dinner or whatever it was, stressful and difficult. And what we would do is sing Que Sera Sera to her. And she would smile, she would get up and you would dance together and have a laugh going down the corridor to wherever she needed to go. And what it did was it took all the anxiety out of the situation, took the stress out of the situation. It made it easier for the lady and it made it easier for us as staff. It also meant there was less staff involved in having to support the lady in that moment. So all of these things together can help increase your job satisfaction. It can make doing your work easier and happier and have a huge benefit on the environment of the care setting as well. So with all that in mind, knowing the power that music can have and that personally meaningful music can have, we have a really simple vision. We want everyone living with dementia in the UK to have a unique personalised playlist, and everyone who loves and cares for them knows how to use it to the best effect. So I'd like to share now how you yourself could go about making a playlist for yourself, or if you're supporting someone with dementia, how you could do that for them. So as I mentioned, it's about finding the right music and using it at the right time. Finding the right music means finding the music that is personal to you. As I said, the music that brings you that flashback feeling. And ideally, we'll all make our own playlists. That's what our National Playlist Day campaign really encouraged people to do. Whether you're living with a diagnosis of dementia or not, you can get started on your playlist today, because who knows the music that's been important in your life better than you. So yeah, I would encourage anyone after today to start thinking about the music that would be on your playlist. But if a person living with dementia needs a bit of extra support, maybe they're finding it difficult to think about the music that would have been important to them, there are ways that you can support them. And in a moment, I'll share some of our music detective skills that help you track down the right tunes for someone's playlist. And then once you've got the right tunes, it's about using them at the right time, because all of us will experience music in a different way, and everyone living with dementia is different. Dementia affects people differently, and how each of us use music might be different. So I would really encourage, if you are someone living with dementia and you want to make a playlist, beyond writing down the music that's important to you, have a think about when you might want it to be used. Are there particular points in the day that you find difficult, that you think music could help with? Is there a song that you know helps calm you when you're anxious that you could use or someone else could use to support you? And if you have these ideas and you know how you would want music used, and you've got a personal care plan or an about me document, or however you track how you want your care to be delivered, you can include music in that, and I'd really encourage you to do so. Similarly, if you're supporting someone living with dementia, then you can identify when are the times that this person benefits most from the music. And that can be through a little bit of trial and error of playing the music to them, or it can just be that you've identified, you know, like that lady, that meal times are difficult, so let's try and introduce the music then. So finding the right music can be difficult, as we witnessed there when I asked everyone to think of a song. I imagine most people's minds went completely blank, because that's what happens. You can't think of any song that you've ever heard in your whole life. So we've got these music detective skills that can help you to track down the right music. So the first of these is the memory bump. It's a scientific fact that we make more memories between the ages of 10 to 30 than at any other point in our lives. So music from this time can have really strong memories attached and is a really great starting point when building a playlist for yourself or someone else. So even if all you know about someone is their date of birth, you can add on 10 years, add on 30 years, and try and find music from within that time. And it's guaranteed to bring something back, because if you think about it, this is the time where, you know, we're growing up, falling in love for the first time, maybe pushing the boundaries, going out to clubs, you know, leaving school, leaving home, having kids, getting married. So many big moments happen at this point of our lives, so there's bound to be tunes associated with them. And I'll share in a moment some examples of resources that can help you to find music from this time. And then we have inheritance tracks, because a playlist can include tunes that we inherit from other people. So have a think about the people who are important to you in your life. You know, did your mum sing you a particular song every night before you went to bed? Did your big brother have a band that he listened to that you thought was really cool and it reminds you of him? Did your children inflict a modern band on you that you hated, but when you hear it, it brings back a lovely memory of them? You know, songs that take you back to a childhood sweetheart or the person you're with today. Have a think about who's been important to you and what music reminds you of them. Funnily enough, these might not be songs that you like yourself and would sit and listen to every day, but when they come on, you think, God, that reminds me of my mum, and it gives you that nice familiar feeling. And this is also a great opportunity to get friends and family involved as well. And particularly if you're building a playlist for someone else and you're not 100% sure about the songs that would be on their playlist, getting their family involved can be really key here, because you'll get a lot of songs that bring out shared memories. And then finally, identity tracks. And these are the tunes associated with all the other parts of our identity, and the things that make you you. And the key thing here is, even if you don't consider yourself a music lover, if you're not someone who's always gone out and bought the latest record or things like that, there is still music that will bring back memories for you, because music is all around us all the time, even if we don't always consciously notice it. So there will be tunes that do bring back memories for you. And you know, it can be from TV themes, adverts, movies. It doesn't have to be, you know, from the top 40 on the radio. Anything can be on your playlist. So really do think outside the box. A couple of examples would be important places. So where you grew up or where your family grew up, because this really shapes your upbringing and who you are now. And actually, Alex Ferguson shared as part of our National Playlist Day campaign, when he shared his playlist, one of the songs on there was Dirty Old Town by the Pogues, because that actually reminded him of, made him think of growing up in Govan down at the shipyards. And funnily enough, the reporter who was interviewing him, she shared that song made her think of her family, who were from Salford, which is actually where the song is about. And so it made her think of her dad and Salford. And, you know, it was funny that they both had the same song on their playlist, but it reminded them of completely different things that were unique to them. So that's a really nice example. And I think especially if you or your family are not originally from the UK, the music that's been brought with you as part of your heritage can be really powerful as well. And again, we have some great resources that can help if you're supporting someone to build a playlist and they come from a different place from you and you're not really sure what their music would be, then you can actually find ready-made playlists from different cities in the UK and from different countries around the world that can be really helpful. And then hobbies, interests, beliefs, as I said, everything that makes you you. If you're a football fan, there might be songs from the football terraces. You know, there might be songs from other sports, the cricket, Ski Sunday, you know, you name it, there's a song associated with it. And again, if you're religious, faith music can be really powerful. That can be things like hymns that are more traditional, but it can also be prayers or devotionals that, while they're not considered music, they're still rhythmic and would perhaps spark something for you or bring calm. It can be, you know, as I said, think outside the box when you're building your playlist. And then again, special moments and milestones can be a really nice addition. You know, that could be a song that was played at your wedding, a big birthday, a really amazing gig you went to. You know, a playlist can be endless and there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to how many songs should be on your playlist. Some people are happy with 5, some people are happy with 500. So yeah, it can be anything and everything as long as it's unique and personal, has a personal memory to you. It is worth mentioning that, of course, music can be emotional. It can bring back lots of memories, and these might not always be positive. So if you're writing down a playlist for yourself or someone else, it's just as important to maybe note down songs that you don't want played as much as it is to write songs that you do. Whether that's because you absolutely can't stand the Bay City Rollers and you don't want it played to you at all. That's not a personal opinion, may I just add, nothing against the Bay City Rollers myself. Or whether it's because there's a song that actually brings back a really upsetting memory for you and you don't want to be reminded of it, it's important to get them written down. That isn't to say, however, that if there's a song that's emotional, that you shouldn't have it on your playlist. There's lots of songs that when we hear them, they maybe remind us of someone who's not with us anymore or something that's a bit sad, but we actually want to have that because it reminds us of someone we love. So, you know, it's worth making a note next to songs. This may be emotional, but it's a good emotion and I want to have it. Or as I say, if it's a song that's going to bring up something upsetting, that as far as possible, you don't want that played to you. So as I said, I'll share some examples now of resources that can help you to actually track down the right music for yourself or someone else. So that the first one here is our conversation starter, which is available on our resources page. And this just gives you a series of prompts, very similar to the music detective skills that I've just shared, where you can write down songs for different themes and the memories that are attached. You can print these off and you can stick them up on your wall, or you can give them to a family member. And it's a way of recording on paper what songs are on your playlist. If you're needing a bit of help actually finding the songs, our ready-made Spotify playlists are a great start, and that's the ones I mentioned when I was talking about important places. So on our Spotify page, if you type in playlist dementia, again, there's a link to this on our resources page, you'll find a whole host of playlists that are linked to different genres, different eras, different places, hobbies, that again, if you're making a playlist for someone and you come from a completely different place for them, or you are completely different ages, or they love a particular football team and you have no clue how you would get started, then you know you can listen to these playlists, and often actually playing the music with someone could be more powerful than just saying the name of the song. So it gives you an opportunity to actually live play the music as well. And then finally, we have our 100 Years book, and this lists the top 100 songs from the last 100 years. And that's a great resource for the memory bump, because you can look up the years of someone's memory bump and it gives you all the songs that were kind of in the charts at that time. I'd really encourage you to have a look on our website. It's on our website, PDFs that you can download, or you can buy the book as well from our online shop. But I guarantee you, if you flick through to the age you were 20 or so, there'll be a song on there that you recognise and that brings back a memory. It's obviously very UK focused. So again, if you didn't grow up in the UK, then maybe our Spotify playlists are a better place to look to spark some memories. And another great resource that we've just launched actually on National Playlist Day is our online playlist maker. So I'll share the link for this after the session, but you can go on here and it takes you through those prompts again. You can write down bands or songs that have been important to you, and then you can add them live to a little playlist maker that will pop up. And you can, it'll send you it on Spotify, so you'll have it all there ready to listen to in one go, or it'll send you just a list that you can share with people or print off for yourself. So that's a really fantastic resource. If you're struggling a little bit to think about what would be the songs on my playlist, it just helps guide you through that process. I think that people often worry about is, oh, well, once I've got all these songs, how am I going to listen to the music? And I don't want to focus too much on that here today, purely because it's so different for everyone. How we all listen to music will be completely different. And the best way to listen to a playlist is really just whatever you're most comfortable with. So if you have a CD collection, continue to use that if that's what you like. If you download music onto your phone, then you can listen to music that way. If you've got a smart speaker, you can access music there. Really, there's no right or wrong way to listen to a playlist. What I would say is if you can gather all your music together in one place, that can be really useful just in terms of making things easier. And obviously, if you have it on something portable, you can take it out with you and it's accessible to you wherever you go. But really, it can be just as simple as singing together. You know, Sally, who started this whole thing, her and her mum just used to sing with each other, and they rarely got technology involved and had this wonderful experience. If you're horrified at the concept of singing to each other, then we do have lots of useful information on our website again on how there are different ways to listen to a playlist and some advice on some dementia-friendly music players as well. So do feel free to go on and have a look at that. So as you can see, hopefully from what I've shared, this is a really simple concept, but with a big impact. And we want to see personally meaningful music used at every point of the dementia care pathway. You know, ideally all of us, whether we have a dementia diagnosis or not, should be thinking about making a playlist now because it's fun, but it can be this lifeline in the future. And then what we want to see is that as someone goes through their dementia journey, they're supported to use a playlist at any point from diagnosis all the way through to end of life care. And all of us have a role to play in making that happen. The ways that we try to achieve this are we provide support directly to people living with dementia through our free resources on our website. And we also run our own webinar, how to make a playlist webinar for people with lived experience. There is actually one this week. If anyone wants a little bit more in-depth information, that's something that we offer. We also provide free support to community groups who are working with people living with dementia, and we have established over 2,500 help points across the UK. So these are dementia cafes, libraries, pubs, schools, you name it. We've provided people with resources that can support people in their own community to find the power of music. And we also provide training for health and social care professionals and students in the field. And we've trained over 8,000 health and social care professionals and many more students on how to actually embed Playlists for Life into the care that they provide and improve it to make it more person-centred. So I would ask anyone on the call today who's interested to please get involved. If you're living with dementia or you're an unpaid carer, if you're supporting someone, visit our website at the Get Started page. It'll give you lots of tools and resources and ideas on how to make a playlist. And if it works for you, you know, let us know. And we love to hear stories of people who've used a playlist. And please do share the message with others as well that music works. If you are based at a community organisation who supports people with dementia, then join our Help Point network. We've got lots of, again, free resource packs and some e-learning available to help you share the power of music in your community. And if you're a health and social care professional, or if you're a student or academic, we've got lots of a range of training courses available, all the way from short e-learning packages for individuals, all the way up to actual training that actually allows someone or an organisation to deliver Playlist for Life training to change the embed care Playlist for Life into care at the organisation as well. So please do visit our training site if you're interested in that. I'm going to leave you with a short video that really highlights, I think, the power of personally meaningful music, because, as I said, it's a simple concept with a big impact, and it's something we can all do and get involved in. And this gentleman, Ian, lives with dementia and used a playlist himself, and saw the benefit, and decided to take that into his community and help even more people. So I hope this inspires you in whatever capacity you're here today to get involved and share the power of music yourself.
And this guy was chatting away, and pure fluke, I had a tape in my pocket, and we talked about some of the old tunes, and I said, well, look, take a loan of that. And yeah, CD player, yes, right, fine, off he went. And he came back a fortnight later, and he made a beeline for me, and he threw his arms around my arm, threw his arms around me, and the tears were just running down his cheeks. And I said, what have I done? And he said, well, he said, I got married over 50 years ago. He said, you had the first dance with your wife. He said, from that day on to the day she died, I never heard that tune again. She said, and the first tune that was in your tape was that tune. He said, I've spent the last fortnight dancing around in the big dining room I've got. He says, imagining I've got my wife in my arms. He's got a wee twinkle in his eye now. And I said, how are you so happy now, Willie? He said, because I'm remembering so many things. He said, I remember my wife, what she was wearing, and when I was courting her, when I met her. And oh, he was just, it was like opening a book. I was gobsmacked. I didn't realise that it had such a powerful effect on people. Everybody's got a happy time. No matter, was it yesterday or 60 years ago, a tune will just connect with you. And I think if you can get into the mind, the happy things like that, or even the sad, it's good for them.
Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to stop sharing now, and if anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Rebecca, I just want to say before we get into the questions, thank you so much. That was fabulous. I adore music. So my dad lived with dementia for 19 years, and when he could no longer hold a conversation, he could still sing a song. He smashed his TV, 2 consecutive TVs twice on the floor, before we realised that maybe meaningless daytime TV really wasn't hitting the spot. And it was a CD player and a whole library of CDs that just transformed his experiences. So just absolutely wonderful to hear about that. That film at the end is just, oh, I could cry. It was beautiful. And when you talked about the songs that that people will remember, perhaps not because they love them, but because they bring back a memory of their life. I can imagine if I live into my 70s or 80s, it'll be Taylor Swift when my daughter was 8, because that's the current obsession. So I think heavens above, it might end up on my playlist. That's quite scary.
I think everyone might have Taylor Swift on their playlist after the media attention that she's got over the last few months.
Yes, it'll remind us of something good, different. Indeed, absolutely. I have got quite a lot of questions actually that I've been noting down, but enough of me. Does anybody on the call want to ask Rebecca anything? You can put a question in the chat or you can come off mute. So someone from Bromley Dementia Support Hub says, is there any scientific study about how music can improve nutritional intake?
I, off the top of my head, I would have to have a wee look on particular scientific studies. The evidence that I shared there was from just a real life example that we saw in a care home. So when we train care homes and other care settings, we ask them to provide evidence on the impact that playlists have had. And that was their piece of evidence with one particular lady. In terms of other papers, I'd be more than happy to have a wee look, and if it's something I can find, I can share it in the email that gets sent round to everyone afterwards. Because yeah, there's lots and lots of different examples from various papers, so I would have to have a wee check.
Super, thank you. That would be fantastic. Someone from Bromley Dementia Support Hub says yes, thank you. I can certainly say anecdotally, it's not scientific. Music was very helpful for my dad and his nutritional intake. He ended up with no teeth, but one of the best appetites in his care home, and he had a swallowing problem as well. So it's massively impactful across the board. Does anybody else have any other questions for Rebecca? Okay, well, everyone's having a think, Rebecca. Let me wade in with something. So I don't know how much data you collect off your website. I know it's chock full of resources. You've obviously touched on a lot of that today. I just wondered if you have any estimates, any data around how many people have used your resources, downloaded them to actually go and start playlist making, whether that's for themselves, for someone they support, etc., etc. I know you've been around for quite a while, so I would imagine those figures would be quite high if you did have them.
Yes, so it's something that is pretty hard for us to collect because we're so, our whole ethos is just we want to give as much as possible to people to allow them to do this without needing to purchase things, and so we give away a lot on our website, and it does make it quite hard to always track, but it's in the thousands for sure. In terms of downloads we've had, it's in the many thousands, probably over the 10,000s at this point, of people who've downloaded our resources. And we've also, as I said, we've got over 2,500 help points that we've shared resources with that they can then use to support families. So again, through them, again, thousands and thousands of people will have been reached, and again through the people we've trained, the over 8,000 health and social care professionals, if all of them go on to help one person, that's another huge number there. But as I said, we're always, if people do this and it works for them, we love people to come and tell us about it, because it's so important to be able to share real life examples of where this has worked for people. When we started out as a charity, so many people would come up to us and say, if only I'd known about this when my mum was alive, or if only I'd known about this when I was, supporting my husband. And I'm really pleased to say that is becoming less. It's becoming so much more well known now, the power of music. But yeah, please, if anyone does go off and do this after today, please get in touch and let us know that we can add you to our numbers, and that we can share your story with other people.
That evidence is always so important, isn't it? Because that's what sometimes makes the difference when we're talking about funding, particularly for projects for perhaps deprived groups, people that don't get that sort of impact. And I know you try and work across the board with lots of different groups. I'd be really interested. I know I can see from the people that are on the call that we have at least one person who is a care home manager. If you're running a care home, let's say you've got 50 beds, 50 people in your care home, how would you, very briefly, without getting into obviously a whole training module, how would you suggest a care home manager goes about trying to support as many people within that 50 who want a playlist to have a playlist? I'm guessing you're going to do it through something like key working companions, things like that, where we've got individual staff members tasked with doing this. But what would you suggest?
Yeah, so I mean, in our training, we really try and work with each individual care home to find the best way for them to do it, because everyone works slightly differently. But what we always recommend is, start with one person. Don't rush off and try and make a playlist for 50 people at once, because you're gonna get tripped up and you're gonna struggle with the tech and you're gonna get disheartened, and staff as well are gonna think, oh my goodness, what a huge task, how are we supposed to do this? I think the key thing is getting your staff on board, and I think the way you do that is by letting them see the value and see the impact on at least one individual. So I would say always start with one and build from there. And then when it comes to how you help people access music, again, that can be really different, because people, you can maybe have a system that works really nicely in your home. For example, everyone has an Alexa in their room, but for other homes that's not possible. So you might need to think about finding some tech and things like that, MP3 players or whatever. But I would encourage that even just starting by finding 1 or 2 songs for each person and building it up, because as I said myself, I was just singing to that lady once a day, que sera sera. It was such a simple thing, and yet it had such a huge impact. So yeah, just start small and build up, I would say, is the key takeaway. And as much as possible involve families, because I'm sure you'll know yourself, if there is a family involved, they're always looking for ways that they can do more, can help more, can support more. So yeah, getting them involved is key. And I really would recommend, if anyone is interested, to have a look at our training site, because we really work really closely with the homes and the wards and everyone that we train on finding a plan that works for you in your setting.
And it's a great intergenerational activity, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Talk about
Yeah.
working with families, and it's a way that youngest and oldest and everyone in between can sort of get together and work on something together.
Yeah, we've actually got a young music detectives booklet on our website, which again you can find, and it's designed for young children, maybe around the age of kind of 7 to 10, to sit down with a family member, or if they're in a school and they're visiting a care home or something, they can sit down and help an older adult to track down the music. And it's a really nice way to connect and open up and talk about dementia.
I think it would be a fabulous initiative if every care home, when they are talking about a new admission and they're liaising with the family, we talk about the care and support plans, we talk about all that stuff, but just drop it in there. Let's start a playlist.
Yeah.
We got one, let's start one, and begin the process from that point. If somebody hasn't already started, it would be a great little prompt, I think.
That's what we'd love to see. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Rebecca before I've got a couple of others that I'd like to ask, but I'm very happy to give way to someone else if they'd like to ask something. You can pop it in the chat if you don't want to talk, if you're feeling a little bit shy.
We also, just to let people know, we have a series of newsletters as well, but we have a health and social care professionals newsletter, and in that Beth has actually given a lovely interview for that, and we also have an Ask a Music Detective feature in that as well. So if questions come to mind after today, don't hesitate to get in touch or sign up for our newsletter, where we do a kind of FAQ on a regular basis as well.
Super. Now, obviously, the gentleman in that last film, he talked about a cassette tape. Music, of course, can be a great sort of reminiscence aid, particularly when we do bring in, obviously, Alexas and things like that are great. That's modern tech, but handling a vinyl record, something like that, can be incredibly useful, both from the perspective of actually being able to put it on the turntable and play that piece of music that could be really important to you, but it's also that nostalgia, isn't it, and the memories that come from those sort of items. What do you see around that, Rebecca? Do you find that is helpful for people sometimes to have those physical items?
Definitely, and that's why we're never too prescriptive when we come to the how part of listening to music. But yeah, definitely, I think being able to handle something and have something that's familiar to you can make a difference. I think we're seeing that in the public consciousness at the moment with the revival of records. For all of us, it's just nice to have something and be able to collect something that has a picture on it. And there was a really nice example, and unfortunately I cannot remember the name of the organization, but they were using MP3 players because it was a good way to get portable music to everyone, but they were actually sticking the MP3 players to a vinyl record. so that the person could still listen to the music, but they could hold the record at the same time. And I thought that was a really nice blend of the modern and that having that tactile ability to hold something and have a physical experience as well.
I love that idea. What a fabulously innovative thing to do. And actually, speaking about MP3 players, Saf Davis has had to leave us, so he or she did apologise for that. But in the chat, Saf said, Purple Angel is a charity started by a gentleman with dementia who wants everyone to access music. You can get a free MP3 player from him, and there is a link on the website to get cheap free headphones for those who can't afford them. And I've seen fabulous films of people with headphones on, using MP3 players, obviously for personalised music. And I just absolutely love that. We had some great suggestions. I don't know if you saw them earlier. People did put some of their special flashback feeling tracks in the chat. And said Meatloaf Paradise by The Dashboard Light takes me back to my nurse training days. That's a lovely memory. John said Albatross by Fleetwood Mac. I only need to hear the first bar and I'm back in time to being a young child having lunch in a pub with my parents while we were looking for a site in North Wales to put a caravan on.
It's funny the specificity that
It is,
music
isn't
can
it?
bring. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, and I bet John can probably even remember the weather. Was it raining? Was it sunny? I'm sure that you probably have that memory to go with that as well. That is music, isn't it? It really can take us back to quite specific memories. And then Jenny, a romantic memory, True by Spandau Ballet, reminds me of the early days meeting my husband and dancing together. We are still together and it takes me back.
Lovely. Those are all such fantastic memories, and again, just it makes you think of things that maybe you haven't thought of in a while. And as I say, I would encourage everyone go away and listen to those songs, and whether you're living with dementia or not, really start building your playlist, because I've got mine already, and it's something I continue to add to all the time as new memories come along. But it can be really nice on those days where you're not 100% sure what to listen to even, and you stick it on and you can live your whole life again through music almost. It's quite remarkable.
Absolutely. It's fun when you hear a track that you haven't heard for absolutely ages and it does take you back to something. That's really cool. I haven't listened to
I think
Ballet
that's
in absolutely ages. And
so, yeah, it's a good point, Rebecca, because I think it's not only about making it and starting it, isn't it? It's then keeping updating it, because as we grow older, we add other things to it. Or I now have, which somebody else said, I think in one of the clips she showed, there are things of memories of listening to with my kids, which wouldn't have been, music I would have listened to in my youth, or even listening to with my husband as well, who's got totally different taste in music than myself. So it's really, really interesting. But he is a musician, and it just fascinates me, music. I think it's a wonderful way of connecting with people. I've been lying on the floor not that long ago singing Tulips from Amsterdam with one of my ladies I'm working with, and just such a wonderful experience that was. It's just magic how music connects you with people as well. And we are actually at the moment, my husband's doing that. He's putting some of his records on tapes again, which is quite interesting, because it's like going back, isn't it? So hopefully we'll be able to play them as time goes on as well. So we'll have to keep a tape player alive somehow for access, don't we?
Brilliant. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone putting records on tapes. That's a new one. It's funny how we move through all these different technologies and they come back around again.
Definitely. And I love the fact, Angie, said you've been lying down with someone and you've been sharing some music, and I think I can picture a very beautiful scene of you at that person's sort of level, and just really sort of connecting with music. That is fantastic. I had one more question, Rebecca, but we've kind of run out of time. It was just really around international inquiries. How big is playlisting worldwide? Do you get a lot of inquiries from around the world?
Yeah, so definitely there's a similar charity in the United States that Sally had liaised with quite a lot when our charity was being set up, and there are similar concepts used around the world. And yeah, we get inquiries from Canada, the States, Australia, and people looking for training, which we're always happy to provide, but just from loads of countries, Spain, South Africa, people who are interested in this and want to give it a go. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely, in terms of the care sector and using music as medicine and care, I think there's a lot of way to go in a lot of countries in terms of that person-centered movement, but it's definitely something that people are interested in and excited in all over the world, and we're always happy to give advice. Although we're a UK charity, always happy to help wherever people are coming from.
Absolutely. Anne's is saying, is there anything in the Netherlands?
Oh, do you know, I'm again off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure, but it's something I would be happy to check in on. I'm aware of a piece of work in Germany that was also in a few other sort of surrounding European countries. So the Netherlands might have been one, but again, I can maybe include anything I find. I know there's some really great dementia initiatives in the Netherlands. They're streaks ahead of us in a lot of ways, so I'm sure they've got something.
I'm imagining a dementia village in the Netherlands with a great musical initiative going on.
Yeah.
We've run out of time, Rebecca. I need to say a huge thank you to you. There's some lovely comments in the chat. Gordon said, thank you, a great session with lots of inspiration to take away. Linda said, thank you, this has been brilliant. I'm sure a lot of people would echo those sentiments as well. It's absolutely wonderful to have heard from you. Really enjoyed it. Love personally meaningful music. So would echo what Rebecca said. Do give it a go, whether you're living with dementia or not. So just thank you very much, Rebecca, for your time this afternoon. And then just to signpost you all to our next webinar. So it's called Can the NHS Prevent Dementia? It's on Monday, the 7th of October from 2 till 3. We're going to be hearing from someone from the Brain Health Clinics who's connected to Oxford University. Booking is live. Beth Lang, my colleague, will pop the link in the chat. I'm sure she's probably already done it. Yes, she has. Super efficient. Thank you, Beth. So do come and join us for that. And thank you so much, Rebecca. And loads more lovely comments in the chat. So don't leave without having read them. And thank you to everyone who's joined us today for your company and your time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.